My name is Philip. I am joined by Adriana and Iliano today to go over our product reordering inside inFlow. Little fact that on this day, almost 3 years ago, we introduced this feature, so reorder by location, on April 7th, 2021, and Iliano and myself did a webinar back then on it as well, actually. So I just thought that was really funny that it almost lined up to the day for 3 years ago.
Well, it's such a coincidence. I recall that we did it, but I had no idea that it was like 3 years ago already.
Things have changed in it a little bit, and we've added more features, and like we didn't have manufacturing and stuff back then, so you had to like kind of do a mishmash between our web app and like our desktop app and stuff like that. But now we can actually do everything in the web app, which is fantastic. Um, so yeah. It looks like we've got lots of hellos. Hi, Julie, Kara, Charlie. Lots of hellos in the chat. So, hello to everyone. This should be a fairly simple topic to go over today. We're going to go over what is product reordering. We have a recommended reorder point report. That's very difficult to say, so try saying that 3 times fast. And then show how to set it up in inFlow. And we do have a giveaway for people who want to stick around to the end. I think we can probably just get into it. So, what is product reordering? It's something that you can use to make inside inFlow the reorder settings to keep your inventory organized and ensure you have enough stock. So essentially, it's just something to try and make your life a little bit easier, a little more automated. That once you are starting to run low or run out of something, that inFlow can actually prompt you or make it easier to either create purchase orders, work orders, or manufacture orders. Sorry, different things like that, and keep you in stock so that your business is running smoothly. Now, there are some very important terms that you kind of need to know and understand for reordering to work. The biggest two are the reorder point and reorder quantity. Reorder point, this is actually the minimum stock level before you need to order more. So this is a setting that you can put in, and you can say, when I go below this number, so let's just say for a product maybe when I have less than 10, that I want inFlow to let me know that I should be reordering it. The reorder quantity then is actually how much stock you want to reorder at each time. So for a lot of people, this may just be set as 1, and that way you can reorder as many as you need. But if you buy things in, say, like cases or bulk or things like that, you may get them in like specific quantities. Like if I'm buying Pepsi or something, it usually comes in like a case of 12 or 24 or something like that. I can't buy just one. So you put that in as the minimum that you can actually reorder at a time, and inFlow will use that to calculate how many multiples of that you need to get back to your reorder point. And then the current anticipated quantity, this is the number that's actually determined by how much you'd have in stock if all your sales and purchases were completed right now. So this isn't something that's actually like shown really anywhere else, I guess, in the program, but it's essentially taking your purchase orders as well as your quantity available and adding them together to kind of figure out if the amount that you're bringing in is more than your reorder point. And I see Iliano has already very helpfully put in one of our Learning Center articles that explains a little bit more about this. Now, for us at least, it's still early in the morning. It's 11 a.m. I thought it would be perfect time for a quiz and a little participation. So I wanted to see if everybody in the chat can figure this one out for me. But if I'm Batman and I'm buying Batarangs and I have a reorder point of 25, I had 50 in stock and I sold 25, leaving me with a current quantity of 25, is inFlow then going to ask me to reorder more of them? Well, I see a few
Getting a couple
yeses. I see
answers.
Joe saying no.
A lot of
I
yeses.
see a lot of yeses. Now
Somebody
remember,
from info
pay,
knows the answer.
hopefully, I hope the people from inFlow know the answer. So I see lots of yeses coming in. Only if you told it to. Well, I see inFlow is trying to give hints in the chat kind of thing, but so actually on this, no, it's not going to prompt me because my reorder point is set to 25, and so I know that this can actually be very confusing. It's when your quantity goes below that amount, not the actual amount. So if I set my reorder point to 0 on a product, when I have 0 in stock, it's not going to ask me to reorder it. It's when I actually go to like -1. So if I've sold more than that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind when you are setting up your reorder points, that this is the minimum that you absolutely want to have in stock. And anytime it's lower than that, then it's going to ask you to order more. So quiz part 2. Whoop. There we go. So quiz part 2. If my reorder quantity is set to 10 for a product and my reorder point is set to 75 and I have 2 of them, how many is inFlow going to recommend? So again, reorder quantity, that's the batches of how many that I have to order at each time kind of thing. So can anyone figure out how many I would have to order at this point? I see a few answers coming in. We've got 63, 80, 10, 73, 7.5, 83, 73. Getting some good answers here and there. Oh, Charlie with 80. Give us another second. Julie with 73. Mark with 80. Another 80 from Noah. Looks like a lot of people are thinking 80. Got a bunch of 10s coming in. Rebecca with 80. And let's see. So inFlow is going to recommend we reorder 80 more of my Green Lantern ring. So because we have to order in batches of 10 at a time, if I was to only purchase 70 more, I'm going to be at 72 stock total, which is still below 75, which was my reorder point. So this means I would need to order 80 to actually surpass that amount. So everyone who got that right, congratulations, good job. All right, moving on from our quiz. Thank you for everyone who answered there and there. So inFlow supports 3 different methods of reordering stock. So figuring out which method you're going to use ahead of time can really make planning for these a lot easier. The first type, and this is probably the most common method, is purchase orders. So usually when you're going to run low in stock, you would create a purchase order to send to a vendor to buy more stock and have it shipped to you kind of thing. But not all businesses that work that way. So if you have something like a central warehouse and then multiple locations that maybe you sell out of, it might be easier to actually use stock transfers to replenish those satellite locations, and you do all your ordering at your main warehouse. So in that case, then you can actually set your reorder points to do stock transfers and take from different locations that you already have inside inFlow. And last, number 3, manufacture orders. So this is if you build or create your own products, then instead of actually purchasing them or anything like that, you can actually automatically create manufacture orders when running low on stock inside inFlow. And then once you go into those manufacture orders, you can complete them and deduct all your stock from like your component pieces and everything that way. Now, I know trying to figure out all these kinds of different values and stuff like that can always be tricky. So we actually do have what's called a recommended reorder point report. It is always hard for me to say, but this can actually try to help give you at least like kind of like a starting idea of what values you might want to put in there. So this report, as you can actually, this is kind of like a little screenshot of it here. We'll show you your actual products themselves, and then it will actually give you some different values that you can then use to figure out what your recommended reorder points and quantities should be. The important things to know about on this report are actually we've got a few different terms that aren't used really other places in inFlow. So vendor lead time. This is actually a value that you can set in the vendor profile, and I'll show this in a little demo in just a few minutes. But this is the lead time and the amount of days that it takes for your vendor to usually ship to you. We know it's not always going to be the same, but if you know that it's going to take at least 7 days or something to get one from the vendor, then putting that, putting that in can help inFlow kind of try and calculate that extra amount of time that it would take for you to get the stock. This report also uses average period over a number of days. So this is going to be used to calculate how much your item is being sold or used over that time period. We default to 90 days, which is usually a good starting point, but you can actually change that to any other number that might be more relevant for your business. Finally, there's also safety stock, which is a percentage on this report. And this actually is the amount of stock that you want to maintain as kind of like a buffer to minimize the chance of selling out. And that this is then just a percentage of your demand. So these are all different values that the report can give you. And then just keep in mind that they are suggestions for what values you can use, and you may need to adjust them as you make more sales or consume your items or anything like that for more accurate results. But the report itself will give you kind of starting values that you can print out and then adjust as you need. You see Joe had a question if the vendor lead time is inconsistent. Some products are 5 days, some are multiple weeks. We don't unfortunately have like a way of having multiple, I guess, vendor lead times. In that case, I would probably suggest you would want to add your highest or like maximum lead time in that kind of a situation. It's generally, I would think, better to be sitting on a little bit of stock that you're going to have in ahead of time than running out and then having to wait for it kind of thing. So you'd most likely want to use that as like your value. Now, talking about all this is great, but how do you actually set up inFlow to do any of these reorderings? There are two main ways of entering this information into inFlow. The first is probably the easiest. You just open up a product. There's an edit reorder settings down near the bottom, and then you can enter in all the information we've been talking about and hit save, and there you go. Otherwise, you can actually import your reorder settings using a CSV file in like Excel or anything like that, and I'll show you an example of that as well. Now, this is a quick little view of what the reorder settings screen actually looks like. You'll notice that it's got a bunch of different fields on here, but the main ones to kind of highlight is at the top here, we have last vendor, so up here. This is actually the last vendor that you made a purchase for from this or for this product. You can change it in here. This is kind of this will change based off of, again, every purchase order that you make or anything like that. So you don't have to change it, but that kind of just gives you a reminder of which one you did purchase from last. Then for each different location that you have, so here I have warehouse, store number 1, store number 2, and store number 5, you can toggle on or off if you want to actually set up reorder settings for this location. You can then set a default sub-location for each location as long as you have that as part of your plan. And then this sub-location is going to be used to automatically put your stock away when it's received. So even if you go to like 0 of that stock in that location, normally then inFlow would just put it back to whatever your default location is with no sub-location. If you fill out the sub-location field here on the reorder settings, then it'll actually put it back to that same sub-location without your staff having to know necessarily. Then you also have the method on here. So here you can see you can choose either purchase order, stock transfer, or manufacture order. If you pick purchase order or stock transfer, you'll also get an option to select which vendor you want it to create the purchase orders from, or the stock transfer, you'll get a location that you can transfer the stock from. And then the reorder point and quantity are the two values that we've been talking about before. So that's where you can enter those in. Now, this is the import settings. So if you wanted to import your settings instead of setting them up manually, this is how you would actually do it. So these are all the different columns that are available. So product name, location, sublocation, then kind of like the different values of what you're actually setting. Like if you want to enable the reordering, the reorder point, the quantity, the method. Again, I'll show you these in a quick demo so you can kind of see and it'll make sense a little more. But what I recommend personally is that the easiest way is usually to export your reorder settings first. This will give you almost like a CSV template that has all these different columns already in there. And if you've already set, excuse me, if you've already set up any manually, you'll already have those values kind of input in there, so you can kind of copy and paste. And it should make sense with the data you already have there. If you do want to set different details for the same product, so like say different locations or like that, you do need to have a separate row for each location. You can't do it all on one. And just keep in mind that the product name and location do need to match identically to what's in inFlow. So if there's any differences, like an extra space or an extra character or anything like that, inFlow will think it's a different product and it'll create it rather than update the settings on it or anything like that. So again, sometimes exporting can just make that a little bit easier. Excuse me, sorry about that. So yeah, one of the other last things is actually that inFlow can also email you to let you know that you are running low on stock. So we have something called low stock notifications. This email will always show if you have more, the first 25 items that are low in stock for that location, and then a link to see the rest of the list. You can also change how frequently you get these emails and the time of day in your personal account settings. I believe it defaults to Thursdays at either 9 or 10 a.m. kind of thing, but you can always go in and modify that, and that is per user on the account, so you can change it and have your own settings, not like team-wide or anything like that. Now, a couple other kind of cool, good to know things is that if you haven't set up your reorder information for a product and its anticipated quantity, so again, what's on the purchase orders and what's on its quantity available is below 0, you'll actually see this yellow bar here on the reorder screen saying however many products have unknown reorder settings. So this is inFlow saying like, hey, you have this product, you don't have enough stock of it, but we don't know how much or where you want to get it from or anything like that. So you can actually click on it and then fill out that information. Or there's an option on there to exclude it from future reorder suggestions if it's something that you don't reorder or if it's for some reason that you don't need it on there kind of thing. So now we can jump into my inFlow account where we can actually show some of this off kind of thing. So again, kind of the first place that you probably go is in your products themselves. Once you go into any of your products, down at the bottom, there's this section here with reorder settings. And if you click on edit reorder settings, that's where we'll get our reorder window. So this is just like in the slides there. We're going to get it showing the last time I purchased it was from Wayne Tech. And then I've got my different locations on here. So right now I only have reorder set up for my warehouse, where its default location is going to aisle that. I'm buying it from Wayne Tech, and I've got my reorder point and reorder quantity on there. Now I don't have anything set up for my other locations, so I could, if I wanted, say like my Montreal store, turn that one on. If I want to use my warehouse as like a main location or anything, I can, instead of choosing a purchase order, select the stock transfer and then select my warehouse as the location. And then maybe I want to always keep, let's say, 2 of these in stock and reorder one at a time. So if you select one, the nice thing with that is anytime it creates those, it can create just up to exactly your reorder point itself. If I had set like 5, then that means once I go below 2, it's going to order 5, and then I'll be at like 6 or 7, or depending on how many kind of I had in stock. So I'll leave that at 1. And for now, I can leave my other locations off. So I hit done and save. And you'll see a quick glance that you actually have some of your reorder settings there. So 2 locations with reordering is enabled, and I can easily see that from there. To actually access or enter the reorder portion of it, if I go into my menu, under inventory, I can go to reorder stock. And then here it's going to prompt you to select which location you're reordering for. So in this case, I could check something like my warehouse. This is then going to populate with any of the products that actually need reordering. So I can see on here it's divided by the different types of ordering. So we've got purchase orders and manufacturers orders need to be done on it. If you click the little down arrows, you can actually see a little bit more information about it. So I can see my Green Lantern ring and my Infinity Gauntlet I need to order. And if I click on them, it'll give me more information. So showing like my anticipated quantity, the reorder point, and then how much it's actually recommending that I reorder. Now from here, if you did actually want to modify it, you can also change how much you're reordering. So if I wanted 10 instead of 8 or something like that, then you can do that. And you can also change which vendor I'm purchasing it from. So if I didn't want to get it from Wayne Tech, I could choose a different one. But I can also just leave it as the same thing. If you do have multiple vendors on here, so actually if I change it, then what it'll do is it'll actually create different purchase orders. So I'll get one purchase order created for my Wayne Tech stuff, and I'll get one for the Secret Lab. So that way it's actually going to create 2 different purchase orders. For my manufacturer orders, I can see I need an assembly kit made. Again, it's showing me the anticipated quantity, the reorder point, everything like that. And if I hit reorder, inFlow will helpfully do this. So we get a nice little confirmation screen with each of these. So it shows you the order numbers that were actually created. You can click these little arrows here to open them in a new tab. And I can see, so there we go. There's my Infinity Gauntlet ordered. It ordered 10 of them from Wayne Tech. We'll click on this one. Should be from Secret Labs. So that's the one that I changed it to for my 80. And then again, you can also open like your manufacturer orders as well too, so that I can go through then the process of actually like manufacturing it and everything and putting it away. So that way I can update my quantities. Once you're done with this,
oops, sorry. Go ahead.
go.
We did have one question from Joe. Just asked, for items with multiple vendors, is there a way to have it select the vendor with the better lead time, or is it a manual process? So right now it is a manual process. We don't have a lot of automation set up for lead times, but we can definitely take that as feedback and send that over to our product team for potential future developments.
Sure, yeah, that I could definitely see how that would be really, really cool to be able to do kind of thing. So, thanks for that. That's really great. Speaking of vendors, I can show you. So if we go into our vendor list, go into any of your vendors, this is where you can actually see the where you can go and sorry, it's just right down here, the lead time that you can set up in your preferences. So for each different vendor itself, you can set up different lead times, and that's again what's going to be used in the calculation on the report. So if we go to our reports, it's normally going to be under the I believe reordering and forecasting section. You've got the recommended reorder point report here. So on here, by default, you will have to select a location. So this is again all done by location. But if I want to check like my warehouse again, again we can see on here this is the average or the amount of days to calculate this for. So this is defaulted to 90 days, and then my safety stock is set to 50%. We can hit generate on here. And there we go. So once that's got that, we've got the products right now. They're divided up by categories, but it's going to tell me things like the average daily demand. So again, this is based off of like how many sales orders you've had in that 90 days, how many like stock transfers or adjustments or manufacturer orders, anything like that. We've got the lead time. So this is pulling it from, again, the vendor that's specified on there. And then we've got the safety stock amount, your recommended reorder point, and the reorder point. This is the actual reorder point that you may have set on the product already, but this is the recommended one that inFlow has. So seeing that, 25 is probably more than I need for how often I sell this or anything like that, so I could set it down to 4 instead. And you can either print or save this as like a CSV or something like that to make it easier if you need. And it'll go through all the different products for that, and you can always change this again then based off of your different locations to get the different values, because again, you may be using purchase orders or stock transfers or anything like that for the different locations. So that way you can keep it all up to date. Okay. So for again, kind of the other ways that you can actually update update your reorder settings. If you go into the menu and down to import, this is where you would have the option to select reorder settings. From this, you would then just open it up and grab a CSV file that has those different options and everything in there. Again, I usually recommend that you would export first. So going to the menu, all the way down to export, and then selecting reorder settings, and you can export it. That'll save a file that you can open up, and that will have all those settings that you've already made. So it's just coming through. Here we go. So this again will have all the different columns that we were talking about before, and also you'll see on here. So, for instance, I've got Batarang on here 4 times because, again, as I was mentioning in the slides, you need to have a separate one for each different location that you want to set up those reorder settings for. So again, like Green Lantern, my different chairs and stuff like that, they all are on there multiple times because they're all going to be for a different location. That's how you can then also set your default sub-location, turn on or off the different reordering, and then also set the reorder points per location as well as those different reorder methods.
Got another question from Jonathan in the chat. So is the average days based on the last 90 days, or can this be set to the same period last year? And I believe he's referring to the recommended reorder point report that you had open. So for example, if you sell more during Q4 Christmas period, is it only calculating based off of quarterly basis, or is it calculating the average based off of the entire product life cycle?
Sure. So, as far as I'm aware, basically, you can change the date. You can set how many days you want on it, but it's going to be going back just specifically from today, that number of days. So you can't, unfortunately, specify like between like November and December of last year or something like that. But you could put it up to if you needed like longer time, like 150 days, or if you need something a lot shorter, like turn it down to something like 30 days, and then have it set that way. I also saw Amy asking if these are recorded, so you can go back and watch again. And these are. We actually have a webinar page right on our inflowinventory.com under support and the webinar series, so you can actually go back and watch these anytime that you need. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's generally, I think most of them. The restock email, this is actually what the email itself looks like. And actually, sorry, I should go in and show you. If you go into your account settings, so click on your email address and go to account, or if you go into the menu, go down to options. And then under personal, this is where you actually have a spot for notification settings. Under here, this is where you'll see, so these low stock notification emails can actually be turned either on or off if you want to get them. You can then choose what time of day you want to receive them. So maybe it's more useful at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, depending on how your business works. And you can also choose the frequency that you want to get them, so you can turn them on or off. As I said, it usually defaults to Thursday at 9 a.m. But you could have it every day if you want, or just one day a week, however that works best for you. sure if I have any right now. I believe actually, if I do a reorder for one of these different locations. Here we go. So this is kind of just showing off how it looks if you don't have reorder settings set up for some of your items. So in my Toronto store, I've got a bunch of products, so 16 right now, that are going to go below 0. And so if I actually then click on this nice little yellow bar here, it'll actually take me in and I can go and actually set up any of those reorder settings so that next time inFlow can actually create those orders for me. Or again, you have the option to click never reorder if this is something that, again, maybe it's like something that you're not actually tracking in that way. So it could be like office supplies or something like that, maybe that you don't need to know an exact number for. And that way you can easily set those up to be able to make those transfers or orders or anything like that. And this one you're also seeing here that I've got it set up for stock transfers because again, this is not my main warehouse. So if I then do this, I can actually, this will create stock transfer from one of my locations to my other one to bring that stock in. So here we've got going from my warehouse to my store in Toronto with the number that I actually need, and from here I can then actually send the transfer and then receive it once it's reached its destination, kind of thing. Okay. I know that was a lot of information. I don't know if people have any specific questions that they need. Otherwise, I think it may be a nice, short and sweet, nice, easier topic than some of the other ones we do sometimes on the webinars.
We did get one more question from Joe. Is the vendor lead time unit of measure days? Yes, Joe, it is measured in days. I don't think it has that specified in the web app, but I believe it does have that specified in the desktop app. So yeah, we could definitely take that feedback as well to see if we can get that line days added to the web app to make that a little bit more clear for future.
Yeah, I think it's weird because it has like the automatic value in there. When it doesn't have a value, it does kind of specify it a little more and makes it a little easier to see. But yeah, it's all done by days, and same with like the safety stock percentage. That's just the percentage that you actually put in there, and that will then let you know how much extra stock that it can hold on to or anything like that as well too.
More questions in the chat here. We have one from Jenna. Will there ultimately be integration so the reorder could trigger something external to inFlow? As of right now, I don't believe we have any integrations planned that will take reorder point into account, but that is definitely something we could look into for the future. That's a really good idea. Off the top of your head, are there any specific integrations you'd be looking for, Jenna, that this could help with?
I'd be interested to hear, I guess, kind of which ones you might think would work with that, because yeah, it sounds definitely really interesting.
Yeah. Trigger a Kanban board notice. That could be, oh, okay. So I see what you mean. An integration that could trigger an update to really anything, maybe like a Zapier integration. That could be something potentially we could add to Zapier in the future. So yeah, we could definitely take that feedback, maybe a Google Sheet or something that customers track. So yeah, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing with Zapier right now, you could kind of do that because you can get updates for like when like purchase orders or I believe even transfers are created, and then you could use Zapier to actually update, again, like a Google Sheet or like a Kanban board or anything like that as well too. So that might be something potential, but yeah, no, that's definitely a really cool idea too.
So Victoria also had a question. Is there any way to sort or move line items like click and drag within the PO lists, or is it just done by deleting/adding line items? I'll let Phil demo this, but yeah, I'll let Phil take this one.
Sure. Yeah, no, so right now, unfortunately, no, there is no way to actually reorganize them in both the actual like list itself or in like your receiving or anything like that. You would have to like delete and re-add in the order that you wanted. Our desktop app, which I don't have open right now, I can pull up though, does have a slight kind of one other way that you can do it.
But in the meantime, while Phil has that pulled up, I believe that we are looking into redesigning our sales orders and purchase orders for the web app in the near future. Not making any promises, but that's definitely something we can try to take into account to see if we can resort items the same way that we can in desktop, which Phil will demonstrate here.
Yeah, and so sorry, it's a little small. I can't make this window any. I don't think it gets any bigger really with that. No, but in the desktop app. So again, if you have a Windows computer, you can download this from inflowinventory.com/download, and then with this, you can actually click on the different headers of the list. So like I could sort by quantity or like location, or it's usually done by product name is by default kind of thing, and that'll rearrange them that way. So it gives you a little bit more control that way, but yeah, hopefully that's something that we can add, because we've got some other cool things in the system now that you can like drag and move around and everything like that. So as we continue to redesign these things, adding that stuff I know would definitely really help. I know a lot of people ask for like that on like their pick lists and stuff like that. So that would be very cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for the call out, Victoria. We also had another question from Charlie. Is it possible to apply the same setup for the products in the same category? Or
I
I guess the
assume.
reorder. Yeah.
Yeah, I assume you mean the reorder settings. So there isn't in the application itself like a way to bulk do that, I guess, kind of thing. So like by filtering by category or anything like that, like you can't just say like apply this to all of those. What you would want to do probably in that situation would just be again like an export and an import of those reorder settings, and that way you can do it all at once without having to go into each one individually and do it a bit faster.
So another question from Jonathan. Is it possible to export a PO to Excel/Sheets? There are options to create PDF, but not to CSV file. Yes, you definitely can export a PO to a CSV file. Phil, yeah, sorry, would you mind quickly demonstrating? Our
Sure.
export options for that.
Yeah, in the web app itself, so like from an actual purchase order or anything like that, like you don't have an option to do it directly to an Excel or CSV file that way. You can when you go into the actual exporting stuff, go under purchase orders, and then you can choose an amount of time that you want to do. So like if you wanted to do the past week or something like that, and this will generate a CSV file, an Excel file, I guess, that has all those purchase orders on there. This is again kind of one of those things where with the Windows program you can do kind of some different things. So if you can kind of hack around it a little bit, where if I get rid of this, can I? In my purchase order list, I can actually search for a purchase order. Once I have it in here, if you right click on this column up here, you can export these purchase orders to again to like an Excel or to a CSV kind of thing, and it'll only then do the ones that you have highlighted in here or shown in this list. So again, kind of little differences between the two versions of the program, but yeah, that would be how you could do like one specifically. Otherwise, just exporting from like the web app or something like that, then once you have the file, you could easily remove the ones that you don't want. Or you could set a custom time, I guess, like for one specific day to hopefully narrow down how many you get.
We've got a couple more questions. I'll just quickly address Jonathan's comment at the bottom since he had asked this question. There's a lot of stuff on the desktop version that would be really useful in the cloud version. I always work in the cloud and forget you have the desktop app. Yeah, Jonathan, we are still working through putting a lot of the desktop features into web and enhancing them as well. So if you guys do check out our roadmap, Eliana, I'm not sure if you can link our roadmap for customers. We do have the active features that we are planning for the future on there, and we definitely are consistently updating things that are coming over from the web app the desktop app to the web app. So yeah, continue to give us feedback. We definitely listen to any and all feedback that you guys provide. Phil, it's that one right there. Plan dash inventory, inflow inventory roadmap.
Oh.
Or roadmap.inflowinventory.com is the correct link. Yeah, Eliano also has it linked there. Thank you, Eliano, in the chat. But yeah, this is where we let you guys know what's currently under consideration and what we are actively planning for, what our developers are working on. So we've got the multiple tabs at the top there. So yeah, we're trying to get through as many things as possible and trying to get the features that are asked for the most, used the most. So it definitely helps to get all of you guys' feedback as much as possible. But yeah,
and you can always send.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you can always send that feedback to us on the support team at support@inflowinventory.com. We share it with the entire team, and we really do use that to kind of plan out like future features and stuff like that. So
yeah. Or if there is a feature that you see on the screen, so for example, Phil, if you wanted to go ahead and click on lot numbers and expiry date tracking, you can click on that feature and you can provide your level of importance so that we can track from there as well. So that's another way for you to add in the fact that you want to advocate for a feature that's already on the list. But yeah, any new ideas or any new feedback, please feel free to submit that to support, either through chats, email, or even to your customer success manager as well, if you guys have their contact information.
yeah.
But yeah, so let's, we've got a couple other questions. Not skipping you guys there. So to revert back to Rebecca, can you please explain the lead time and calculating how many days to put for lead time? Phil, I'll let you.
Think. So our learning article, which I think Iliano did post in the chat as well, probably does a better job explaining as well, kind of thing. But essentially, the lead time is it's the amount of time that it takes for your vendor to ship those items to you. So there's no way really for inFlow. Well, I guess inFlow unfortunately cannot calculate that for you or anything like that. It may be something more of just a like you kind of get to know once you've been working with that vendor for a certain amount of time, and it's also just kind of an approximation. So in general, like if you know that when you place a purchase order with your specific vendor that it takes them a week or it takes them 2 weeks or something like that for you to actually then get that stock into like your location or your store or anything like that, then that's essentially what it's talking about in here. Do also say that it's usually probably better to kind of err on the side of caution, so go higher than what it may actually take, just to again kind of you don't want to be running out of stock without with waiting for more to come in kind of thing. So yeah, I hope that kind of helps, but also this article does go over it in the about lead time as well.
Awesome. Okay, so question from Lucas. Any ETA for inFlow Mac version? I'll take this one. Currently, we don't have any plans to create a Mac version for inFlow. We are very much putting a lot of our concentration on our web browser version, since that is compatible with all operating systems. Having an application for one direct operating system is definitely very limiting and takes up a lot of our developer time. So keep an eye on our web app for any feature enhancements and changes, because that's where all of our focus is really going. Just breezing through. Yeah, Joe had asked, is there a way to submit ideas/feature requests? We had addressed that. So yeah, keep reaching out to support or your customer success manager with any requests. Quick comment from Jonathan. Thank you for the shout out to our inFlow support team. They are amazing. So thank you for that, Jonathan. Jason, is lead time business days or calendar days? I believe it's calendar days. But
I believe it is too. I personally haven't, I guess, ever thought or had that question asked before, but I know inFlow doesn't think in terms of, I guess, like business days or anything like that, so it would be talking actual calendar days in there.
Yeah, I guess calendar days would make most logical sense just due to the fact that every industry has a different value for business days. Our business days are Monday through Friday, but Jason's, your business days could be every single day of the week. So I would say calendar days, but yeah.
And just taking a quick read in this article too, it's also it does talk about how like it may only take 2 days for your product to arrive or something from your vendor, but if you only order weekly, so at the end of the week or something like that, it may be best to then take that into account as well too. So you may want to add on like an extra like 7 days or something like that on there again. Usually erring on the side of caution that you want to make sure you have it before you need it, kind of thing. And again, this is just to try and help get that. It's not going to be like an exact science, unfortunately, because we all know things happen, and I'm sure sometimes your vendors are going to get delayed or like shipping or something like that. Somebody will go on strike, and or an eclipse will happen, and people aren't driving out on the roads or whatever. But yeah, just to get you kind of the closest that you can.
Awesome. One last question from Jim. Can I get a report listing the PO date and date received for each product?
So the closest for that would be we have it's not as intuitive, but it does work under. Sorry, I use the Windows app a lot, so the things in here are ordered slightly differently. It is. No, I think it is stock level. Hold on, sorry. I know in the desktop app I can figure it out in the web app in a second, but if you go to the inventory, the movement details report here, so this actually will show a whole bunch of different things, date being one of them. This date is actually going to be different based on the type of adjustment that happened. So if you are searching like purchase order receives on here, this is actually then the date will correspond to the date that you received it. So all of these are received. This is the date that it was actually received on. I don't think it would show you the actual purchase order date as well. But this would be a way to actually get the date when they were received. Otherwise, all the like the normal like purchasing reports, this is all going to be showing wherever it shows like a date. It's going to be showing the actual purchase order date, excuse me, itself, not the received date. So yeah, so the inventory movement details is the one that you would want anytime that you want to see like the actual like time that it changed. So you can filter both for like purchase order receipt. You can filter for like sales order picking or fulfillment. So that's when it's left your stock, or again like stock adjustments or transfers and stuff like that. Otherwise, like on the sales order reports or the purchase order reports, it's going to usually be reporting on the actual like the order date, not the received. Hopefully everyone had a good time and that it was helpful. Again, we really appreciate your participation as well. We appreciate all the feedback and comments and everything like that as well. So you can always reach out to us if you have more questions, and definitely let us know.
Yeah, if you guys think of anything else after this, please feel free to send an email to support@inflowinventory.com. Yep, Eliano just linked it there as well if you need any assistance. But yeah, I think that was a great way to do a little refresher of reordering 3 years almost to the day, which is a little crazy. And we did not plan that at all. We did not plan that at all. So
Happened randomly. So. All right. Well, again, big thank you to everyone for joining us, and thank you very much to Adriana and Iliano for helping out. I saw lots of answers in the chat there, Iliano, so you're doing a great job there. Thank you. And I hope everyone else has a great rest of the day.
Take care, everyone.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.